So, an outline. We'll be kicking off, first of all, with an overview of how the code evolved from being a piece of legislation designed to regulate landline telephony in the 1980s into the modern law which it is today, and the modern law which regulates things like fibre optic broadband and 5G masts. I'd then like to turn to address the key features of the code. And in doing so, I'll be looking at which parties are covered by the code. And then I'll look at the main code rights and how they can come about, which are by agreement or court imposition. I'll also be covering the financial incentives for landowners, consideration and compensation. And seeing as one of the most common legal transactions in relation to the code are new installations, I'll take you through the transactional process from inception right through to the point in which the telecoms operator installs their equipment or apparatus. Next, we'll look at how the code deals with agreements which were in existence before the new code came into force. These are the so-called subsisting or existing agreements. We'll then take a look at some of the most untested elements of the code, namely termination, and essentially how to bring a code agreement to an end. And then after that, I'll turn to removal, or how can a landowner ensure that any telecoms equipment left is removed from their land. Now, there's various sections within the legislation relating to removal, probably far too many to run through in any great detail on this talk. So I'll cover the most common aspects that you're likely to come across when you're advising landowners. And then finally, I'll leave you with some key takeaway points, and that will wrap up the lot. So paragraph 37.9, public bodies or statutory undertakers like gas network undertakers or electric grid operators have a range of statutory powers at their disposal. So what happens when a landowner with statutory rights requires the removal of a telecoms piece of apparatus from their land? For example, what if a local authority wanted to build a road pursuant to a compulsory purchase order and there's a mast in the way? Well, paragraph 37.9 of the code states that the code does not affect rights to require the removal of apparatus under other enactments. In short, if alternative statutory powers give rights to require the removal, the code does not affect those rights. So, essentially, if a statutory power requires the removal, the code theoretically does not affect the right to do so.